Hey, y'all, welcome back to my channel. It has been a minute since Meyer and I have been able to be on. He's back, y'all.
Wow. Yeah,
football season is over. He's alive and well. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Shut up. Okay, today we want to talk about something that we've been noticing a trend on. So when I think about people that I look up to, or when I think about our own lives, and I think about what God's been able to do in our lives, I think about the common theme is that, like, these people don't care what other people think. Like, they're willing to look a fool in the process.
Yep.
Shoot, even if you look in the Bible, like, really, I just thought about that. Even
That's
if you look
true.
in the Bible, these people are willing to look a fool. They don't really care what other people have to think. So God is able to do what He wants to do in their life. So if you're thinking and planning your goals for this year, that's where our mindset is right now, and you feel like some of the things you wrote down are really big and you're gonna have to do some things that you've never done and you're scared of what that's gonna look like, because to be honest, a lot of us struggle with this that we're gonna talk about today, but sometimes you don't realize that that's what's causing the anxiety and the stress. So if you're struggling with what are other people gonna think about me, you struggle, if you're honest, a lot of your life you've done a lot of things for what it looks like for other people. We're gonna break down today the cool kid syndrome is what we called it. We're gonna break down what it is and how to know if you struggle with, like, you know, fear of other people's opinion or like what other people think. We're gonna break down what it is, and then we're gonna help you. We're gonna like share with you some things that help us whenever we see ourselves slipping or whenever we need to put our blinders on and get busy and focus on the thing that God has called us to do, because you're gonna need this in order to execute on your goals this year.
Yep.
So first I want to talk about, like, how do we coin this phrase, cool kid syndrome. We were in the car. We have a lot of deep talks in the car.
I think we was at the house. It was like nighttime in bed.
Okay, nighttime in bed or the car. One
of the two.
Because there was a story about this person, and they like smelled curry or whatever, and they were just like, "Ugh, that's so nasty. Like, I could never, you know, just pretty much down in curry." And me and him were like, curry is like, and we're talking about the spice, right? Curry is a spice that is used all around the world.
All across the world.
It's one of our favorite foods, first of all, so maybe we're a little offended. But, and it's like, they were just pretty much like, ew, that's nasty. And I'm like, wow, the audacity of a person to, shun a whole spice.
Whole spice.
Like, that's
worldwide.
Yes.
And it has healing properties.
Right, so
like,
your body dying, but you too cool to have curry because it stinks or whatever, but your body really could benefit from some curry. So anyways, we realized, like, okay, this is going to be, like, this is a common theme. Like, people are really making decisions based off of what it looks like, smells like, or seems like to everybody else, regardless of if it's good for them or not. So we was like, okay, this is legit a thing. This is a cool kid syndrome. And then I was like, okay, is that the same as keeping up with the Joneses? And you were like,
I said cool kid syndrome is more of a mindset. Keeping up with the Joneses is the action.
Yeah. And so, like, let's kind of break that down. What is cool kid syndrome? I think for me it is you're willing to do what, like, everything that you do is based off of what other people think and how other people view you. What are they going to say? What categories does this put me in? What, even aesthetic, what aesthetic does this have? What, you know what I mean? Like, to me, that's cool kid syndrome. Everything in your life is based off of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, so you base all your decisions based upon perception and what you think other people value.
That's good.
So it's like,
what you think other people value.
It's like, okay, should I get this? Well, I don't know. What's her name was wearing this? Or I saw this person say, oh, this is a nice outfit. I saw this person say, oh, we should live over here, even though your budget,
or maybe not even your desires. That's what makes me sad, is because some people will do stuff they don't even desire. It's like, oh, so-and-so said this is a good neighborhood, but you don't even like that side of town. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even want to be there.
Or you don't care for it. Like, that ain't what you value.
And I think it starts young. I think, like, we had this one girl tell our girl, your shoes beat up. And our girl was so confused, remember? And they weren't even beat up. They weren't brand new Jordans, but they weren't beat up. And she was like, what do you mean? That was like the first time she ever heard that, because we don't place a lot of value on crisp shoes. You know what I mean? Like, an empty bank accounts, but we won't go there. It's not just clothes either. I do want to say that. So it could be buying certain foods because this is what the health and fitness world does, even though you can't, like, so you at Whole Foods, even though Whole Foods is not in your budget, but it's because it's a vibe that you're going for, or sending your kids to certain schools. What else?
So yeah, Occupation.
Wow, that's a good one, because I think about how many men cannot provide for their family because they don't want to be seen doing a certain job, right? Or how many women won't date a man because he's blue collar.
Because he's blue collar.
And it's like, honey, blue collar, he could be making 6 figures. And that's not enough for you because it's not cool. Like, what? That's
Because he
true.
come home and he's dirty.
Yeah.
Or he come home, he's smelly.
Yeah, you better wash them clothes. Okay, now I want to talk about, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but like, where do we see it most in our lives? Because I really want to help people, because I think that some people don't think they struggle with it, but I think we all struggle with it a little bit. And so I think I see it most around social media. Like, there's some things I wonder if we would do if social media was not a thing. You know, in our real life. Where else do you see? I know you said like occupation. That's a good one.
Finances.
Finance is the biggest one, and that's the whole keeping up with the Joneses. And it's at any level, right? It's like,
definitely.
even if you're poor, like if you're poor and you think you don't struggle with it, no. Like, I see poor people where they don't have the money to get their hair done, but because they feel like that's the one thing they have to do to look like they have money, they will go broke over it versus figuring out how to do a mean ponytail or learning teaching yourself how to do your own braids and stuff. Another one is bodies. Like, everybody got a big butt. And you know, like, you can even buy your body now. Your body can be a part of the cool kid club. And one of the things, I'm already jumping towards solutions, but one thing I saw, our friend Chanel from college, she has an Instagram and she does, and a TikTok, and she does these looks like how do you say, outfit of the day. And I love what she's doing. She's like, how to shape your apple shaped plus size body. She's like, point of view, you learn to embrace your apple shaped plus size body. And I love seeing that, because I'm like, cool. Wow, like, she's leaning into what God gave her. Like, that's what God gave her.
Where you feel like you struggle with it?
Where do I personally feel like I struggle with cool kid syndrome? I don't know. I feel like I'm not easily bullied into spending my money, because that's a whole thing, right? I feel like I'm not easily bullied into that. But I think when it comes to my kids, I want to give them, not the world, because people would be like, girl, you do not give your kids the world if they know me in real life. But like, little things like their activities. I do want to see them thrive in their activities. And so, that's hard, seeing that, like, competition and stuff like that, like for dance and stuff. I'm like, oh, so you want $2,000 per kid? No, that's a no. But that is hard. That's hard for me to say no. I think clothes, I don't need the latest clothes, but I would like to have, I don't know, things that I like, you know? And so I really have to put boundaries and discipline around that, and not just go balling out, you know? What you think do you know what I struggle with cool kid syndrome? I think, so I don't have to have the biggest house, but I do want my house to look and feel good, and so I'm willing to invest in that. We're slowly doing that.
No, you don't really struggle with it. I don't think so.
Because I do what I want. No, I'm just kidding.
No. But, the nice things. But it's not bad. I think you already hit on everything that I would say.
That I struggle with?
Yeah.
What about you?
I
think this is hard for you because you're almost the opposite. You almost could use a little bit of cool kid pressure.
No, for real. Like, sometimes I just don't care. Or I don't care, or I'm not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, damn, you're right. I guess growing up, I always had the pressure on myself for my body to be physically in a certain way. So I took an in-body exam
in Houston,
a week or two ago. And it came back.
An in-body exam is like, our friends are, she's like a trainer, like a professional trainer or whatever. So in their house, they have this massive, expensive scale that you step on. You put your arms in, it tells you what body fat you got. Yeah. Every piece of your body. So
arms, your torso, your legs,
right leg, left leg.
Yeah, it shows you how much muscle you have, muscle composition, how much water is in your body. Yeah, it's good. But when I got the results back, man, my pride was kind of hurt, because I was like, my body fat was like 15%. So I know some people are like, 15% ain't high, that's average. Yeah, but from what I'm used to, it's been 10%, and college was even lower. So I'm like, oh no, like my pride was hurt. And especially where it said my fat was at, like I knew, I was like, okay. All right,
And you haven't been able to
work
work out because football season and everything. So that you feel like that's your cool kids and like you want to be the fittest.
Yes.
And sometimes I think that's where we get in trouble because it's not always negative, right? Like wanting to be in the best shape, that's not a negative thing. But I think it switches over to the cool kid syndrome when you're willing to do whatever it takes for that, even if it doesn't fit into your priorities in life in that moment. You know what I mean? Because I don't think wanting to be in shape is necessarily negative. But if I'm not going to eat over it, if I'm going to, abuse my kids over it, I think that's where it gets out of control.
Yeah.
Another one for me is when people invite us places, I really want to go a lot of the times, but we can't always go because we have kids and we have goals too. And I've been trying to focus a lot on energy management. And so, yes, while I may be available, if it's going to take me all week to recover, then I'm not available. If it's football season, I'm going to have to single parent all week, then it's not worth it for me to drag my kids out. And so I think for me that I struggle with that too. Like when we get invited, or it may just not be in the budget.
Yeah,
because
that's fair.
Just because you have it doesn't mean you have it. Like if you have places for that money to go, then you don't have it. And I love it when people count my money. I don't. And people will start to talk. They can't afford this. They can't do this. And it's like, really, you don't know what I can't afford and what I can't afford because you don't know the vision and the dreams that I have.
Exactly.
You don't know what we're working towards. And so, yeah, but that is hard. And because I think I care about people deeply. And I don't want anyone to feel like we don't want to be with them. But if we jumped every time somebody said, let's go, we would get nothing done. That's just the reality.
That's true.
It just takes extreme discipline. All right, y'all. So I didn't want this to be forever long, but I want to get into now let's help the people. Okay, we go talk about how do you heal from this? How do you or not heal from this? That's the first one for me. But how do you get over it? How do you go into the new year where you're like, finally, I don't care what nobody has to say. I am doing this goal that I have been putting down on my New Year goal or whatever, year after year after year. I'm finally gonna lock in. I'm finally gonna do it. And I think one of the first things that you have to do is commit to a year of healing. Like commit to healing whatever it is that's holding you back, whatever it is, because there's always a trigger. There's always something that allows you to be easily influenced by a certain cool kid syndrome. That's what I think. Yeah. So for instance, like we notice a trend of a lot of our people, black people, will not buy a house if it's not big and shiny. And
or in a certain area.
Yeah. And for me, I'm like, real estate is real estate. Like climb your way to what you want.
Yeah.
And I've never understood that, but I realize it's because a lot of us haven't healed from maybe poverty trauma. So we associate a small house with a lack of success versus as generating assets. Do you get what I'm saying? So for me, that has never been a thing. I'm like, well, if this is what we can afford, this is what we get because it's cheaper than renting. You know what I mean? And I know things are different now with the interest rates and stuff, but it just shows me how much healing needs to be done. The fact that you think that you driving a nice car means that you have arrived lets me know that you are not healed, and it lets me know you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because you're putting all your money in liabilities and not assets.
Like,
so.
You're uneducated. That's what that tells me. Like, I can instantly tell how much somebody reads, how much they listen to podcasts, how much, knowledge that they're trying to gain around wealth based off how they make their spending decisions. So healing is one. What would you say?
And also your self-worth. So not getting self-worth out of what you buy, where you work, what you drive. So having security in really who God made you to be. So, and I know that goes hand in hand with the healing.
Yeah.
So once you become healed, then you can find out who you are in Christ or who you are. Then you can pursue, okay, I don't need to drive a Charger. I don't need to drive a Mercedes.
Or at least a new one.
Yeah.
Or maybe you are on that level and there's nothing wrong with a Mercedes.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, if your budget allows it.
Yeah.
If it's not a strain monthly, It's not a strain with upkeep.
And if you got to work 4 jobs, you cannot afford it. Like, I hate that. I can't believe I have to say this, but if you, like, some people think that they can afford their lifestyle because they're working. I'm not talking about, I know that inflation is real. If you have to work multiple jobs, you are struggling with the cool kid syndrome. I'm not talking about people working multiple jobs to keep the lights on and food on the table, because that's real right now. Like, that's what's going on in the world, which makes... Yeah. I digress. But I think that's why the cool kid syndrome is killing me, because you got all these people portraying these certain things on social media, but then people are going home to their homes and they're like, I barely have food in my pantry. Yeah. Not realizing that we're all acting for each other. We're all putting on for each other. And I think for me, that's why I became so passionate about talking about this and getting out here. And I just feel like this burning push from the Holy Spirit to really break down for people, like, what's real life and what's not. And so I think that is why I'm hot about this cool kid syndrome, because you got people bending over backwards, you got people filming they fancy lives and putting it on social media, not telling people that they're broke, not telling people that they don't know how they're going to pay their bills the next month. They're not revealing the real. And then you got these young kids growing up thinking like, oh, I want that, I want to do that. And it's like, well, no, you don't want that. You know what I mean? That might pull your family apart because you got all these jobs to try to make ends meet. Yeah. But another way, like, to get rid of the cool kid syndrome is to redefine what cool is for you. You know? Because I think that's what helps us a lot, is that cool for us is our faith. That's cool. That will always be cool. Our family and building wealth. Would you say those are the... Yeah, those are 3 major ones. For us, that's and being healthy. Yeah. That's what's cool for us. And so you have to redefine what's cool for you. I honestly think that's where the minimalist trend came in. Like, somebody was broke, they only had 3 cups, and they were like, oh, I'm a minimalist, you know. I don't know really where it came from, but really when you define yourself as someone that is countercultural, that is and that's another tip, is to find an alternate lifestyle, because different is better than better, you know. And like for us, for instance, we live in the country. We have this house, and some people may not think it's fancy enough, but for me, just knowing in the back of my head that, okay, this is going to generate income for us, this is going to help house our children and their children, and you know what I mean? Knowing that is enough for me.
It's a stepping stone.
It is, and that feels cool to me. Yeah. And people are going to, like, talk crap and believe what they want to believe. Even if you do everything right or do everything by the book, you check off all the boxes, people gonna still have stuff to say. So you might as well just move how you want to move, do how you want to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so when they do talk about you, at least they talking about you and not somebody else you trying to be.
Yeah, you trying to be. Because if you try to be like somebody that you not, they gonna talk. Well, you rather be the person that God made you to be and have peace of mind. Because if you trying to be fake, you ain't got no peace of mind.
That's true.
You trying to. So
you losing on both ends.
On both ends. Yeah. You trying to. What's the word? You trying to satisfy people, and you trying to satisfy God, or you trying to satisfy yourself. Like, you can't do both.
You double minded.
You can't do both.
You double minded, and you helped me with that even when we first got married. Just realizing, like, we just have to be us, regardless of what other people think, because they gonna think what they think regardless. Like, you cannot please man. You cannot. That, I think in my 30s, that's what I'm learning. I see why when they say in your 40s you just, like, don't care about nothing. I see why, because in your 30s you really start to understand, no matter what I do, I cannot please anybody.
I cannot please anybody.
They're not gonna be happy enough. I think the biggest thing, and I really want everybody, like, to take this home, is that if you focus on pursuing your craft and what it is that God's called you to do, you don't have the extra capacity for outside noise. I think that's huge. I think for us, that's been huge for us, because we've been able to put our blinders on. We've been able to not listen to what other people have to say unless they are where we want to be in life.
Unless what they're saying is pouring in. Yeah. If it's pouring into us, bet. Oh, for sure. Or it's like, it's wisdom. All right, you giving me game. Okay, I'm going to take it. Yeah. All right, but if what you're saying isn't adding to me.
Yeah.
Or like,
or you're making fun of me. You'll be surprised how many people make fun of you. I'm like, wow, we're grown and people still out here bullying and making fun of people. That's phenomenal. Like what? But yeah, when you become obsessed with your craft and you become obsessed, and this is why I do the work that I do with vision and all of that. Like, I put out my workbook finally, y'all. Get the workbook, go through the questions, answer the questions for yourself, not for your friend, for your mama. Like, you have to get in a space where when you're thinking about your goals and your visions, you are thinking from a place of you being connected to God and nobody else. You know what I mean? Because then I feel like that's when you can lean in. That's when the cool kid syndrome don't bother you. And when the trends, they come and go, you still on the same thing that you were on before.
Because one thing that doesn't get old is success and being fruitful.
Wow.
So if you winning, hey, everybody trying to win.
Yeah.
Whether it's financially, whether it's in their organization, whether it's their company, whether it's their body, fitness-wise, or mentally or spiritually, everybody trying to win. So if your actions are leading to fruit, people gonna be like, oh, they eventually gonna like give you your flowers.
Yeah.
Even if they don't like respect what you about.
Yeah.
Even if y'all different, you know what I'm saying? But like, if they see that fruit, they gonna be like, all right.
That's so true. Fruit.
Mara doing something right.
Yeah.
Dela doing something right.
That's so true, babe.
So
fruit and success, that it don't get old. It's not trendy.
Yeah, it's not trendy.
It will always be in style.
It's always in style.
And it's kind of like I was telling Maya, I was like, if you think about, I don't know if y'all know Pastor Keon in Houston, right? He has one of the biggest churches, probably in the nation.
Yeah.
It's a black church, but I was just thinking about, I'm like, nobody gonna tell Keon. They might not agree with him. They may not, but they not gonna tell him, man, you're not cool. Like, ain't nobody gonna step up to him like that.
Your church ain't doing nothing.
Like, you got Shaquille O'Neal ex-wife. She's cute. She your girl. And you're making impact. And even if they don't agree with it. But think about it. Here's another thing. We let people abort our dreams before we get to that point, right? Because think of when he was a pastor making $30,000 a year, he wasn't the man.
Yeah, that's true.
And if he would have given up then, you know, everything looks silly until it starts bearing fruit. You know, and I have to remind myself of that, because I think that's one of the other ways too with cool kid syndrome. It's hard being on here talking, like, because even us having a podcast is silly until it's not silly, right? It's things when they're in their baby stage, they look silly.
They look silly
until they don't.
Yeah.
And so it's your job to protect things while they look silly, to make it cool, make your own path. Like, even a big reason why we're talking about this is because I see these young boys, and I'm sure the girls are doing it too, listening to these rap songs, and I'm like, first of all, the lyrics are horrible. I feel like an old woman listening to these rap songs. I love rap, but what I'm saying is they're portraying this lifestyle that they don't have to live. You know, like you were saying, that football player was talking.
Oh, it was I think the guy's in the Hall of Fame, but pretty much was a former NFL player. His son's a rapper, and he's pretty much rapping about stuff like, bro, you never lived that lifestyle.
I grew up in the hood.
You did not grow up that way. So why are you portraying an image that you aren't?
That you aren't, yeah. And
so, like, but to go back on what you were saying before, it made me think of two things. Most trees take years to bear fruit, even if they, size-wise, reach full maturity. So even though they're the size, they have the capability of bearing fruit. They don't bear fruit until 3, 4, sometimes 5 years later. Yeah. And also made me think about a lot of these, like, professional artists. Shoot, they was right when they was teenagers. They was singing, performer for 10, 15 years before they got put on. Yeah. So it's like, like, I remember I went to go see Big Sean in concert in college.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember seeing him, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Then, like, years later, seeing him, like, blow up, I'm like, wow, like, he was over here performing in this small auditorium.
Jonathan McReynolds. Is that his name, McReynolds? Yeah, he was in college on our little stage. I was like, who's this random guy with this guitar? Same thing. And now he's a big deal.
Now they're a big deal. But it's like, they was getting out the mud. Trenches, yeah. It was in the trenches.
Not worried about, they gonna see me with my guitar. Yeah. And that's why one of my favorite quotes.
Sorry not to cut you off.
Go ahead.
And not to talk bad on Jonathan, but like when he first started, like listen, like
I know where he's going.
His teeth wasn't done, and he wasn't as muscular.
He wasn't,
but he didn't let that hold him back. Even though that could have been something that could have tarnished his image.
You're right.
But he like, you know what? I'm about God's work. I'm about using my gift. He was about it.
That's true.
Then once he got to the level to where, you know what, I could do some work done. I get some work done on myself, and it ain't gonna hurt me. It ain't gonna hurt me financially.
You're right.
You know, it's levels. Like,
it is.
You want to drive your Benz? That's cool.
Yeah.
Wait till you make some more money.
Drive it when you drive it. Like drive it when your assets buy it, not when you have to buy it.
When you ain't gotta work 3 jobs. When you gotta work 80 hours a week. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur,
ain't no car
I understand.
enough.
But do it when it's the right time.
And don't let nothing hold you back. That's true. I thought you was going to just rag on him publicly.
No. He cold.
Yeah, no, but it's true because I think especially as women, and I talked about this in my Fear of Being Seen video, like we don't want to show up until we lose the weight or until, and that's something I had to overcome. It's like, no, y'all finna get me like how I am because I have to show up and be faithful where I am. And so that's so true with Jonathan. And one of my favorite quotes is, if you work at something for 10 years, then you could be an overnight success too.
Yeah.
Because it's so true, because there's so much happening within that decade. I think that's what people don't realize. I think that's what I didn't realize for the longest. It's like you're switching, you're changing it. You think this might be the thing, but then you try this thing, and then you go over here, and while you're trying this thing, because God sees you faithful, you run into this person, and this person puts you on, and then maybe you lay down the dream for a little bit, but then you pick it back up. There's so much happening within those 10 years to make you an overnight success.
Yeah.
It's so true. And I think that's my biggest thing with this cool kid syndrome. It is killing dreams left and right, because you don't want to be seen looking silly. You don't want to be seen trying something. You don't want to be embarrassed because you don't know what you're doing. You're not going to know what you're doing at first.
And it's uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable.
And I heard this quote, people say it, but you have to become comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, people say they don't know what it means.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, in order to, like a tree, in order for a tree sometimes to grow healthier, you have to prune. You have to prune the tree. Mm-hmm. You have to cut things off. You have to be uncomfortable in the process to get to where you want to be. And
that being uncomfortable is what we're talking about, where you're rejecting the cool kid syndrome. You like, I don't care what this look like, I'm going to do it because God gave me the vision. So y'all can laugh at me right now. And that's another thing, is being mature enough to know it may take me a decade before y'all see the fruit of what it is, this dream. And that's why they talk about, when I was reading Think and Grow Rich, a burning desire. If it's not a burning desire, you're not going to go through whatever it takes to go through, you know what I mean, whatever you're going through to get what it is that you say you want. And that's why for me this year, my theme is like, I'm going to do the things I don't want to do so I can get the things and see the things that I say I want to see from God. Like, I will not be the reason that God cannot release things into my life this year. I won't. It won't be my lack of it won't be my lack of discipline. It won't be disobedience. It won't be me caring what other people think. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be in the way of that anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think that's my prayer for you guys, is like, lay it down. Like, this ain't the year to be trendy on social media. This ain't the year to be worried about what other people think. Do what God is telling you to do. If you are constantly taking debt from year to year to year, do what you got to do about it. Stop going to the places. In fact, these people you're trying to please, they're not your real friends anyway, so I think it's just better to have a few years in the dark with no friends. You know what I'm saying? And just do what you got to do. We had years like that, and those were our most fruitful and productive years.
Yeah, that's true.
To where it's like, oh, we can't come because we don't have the look. Okay, cool. Because one day we gonna be able to afford the look and multiple homes. Mm-hmm. Like, if we don't have the look, then please don't invite us. Please don't. I'm serious. Please don't invite us. And you got to get to that point where you're like, you're almost gangster with it. You like, please.
No, I don't care.
Oh, you talking about me because I can't afford steak? Okay, cool.
All right.
I won't invite you to my house when I have free steaks.
Then we're going to go out and I'm going to buy all y'all steaks.
Yes, because I've been faithful to what God is telling me to do and not worried about and being bullied by y'all. So, anyways, I feel like that turned a little bit into a rant. But
I think it was a helpful,
fruitful rant. It's 2024, y'all. When y'all see this, it's gonna be 2024. I am believing. I said this in my other video. For me, the word is comeback. The phrase is comeback. Victory, territory. Those are the things that God is really speaking to me. These are like really aggressive phrases and words, but I'm believing that as believers, if we will put 10 toes on the ground, do exactly what God is calling us to do, this can be the year where we come back and we get everything that the enemy thought he stole from us the last few years. This is the year where I feel like some people are finally going to get their feet on the ground after recovering from COVID. This is the economy is resetting. Man, I guess the Holy Spirit just wanted me to speak more boldly about the things that I'm feeling deeply inside of me. But I believe that this next decade is going to take more of us as believers. Like, we're going to have to position ourselves to financially be able to do more. I believe our stamina is going to have to be stronger than it ever was before. So this whole I'm tired, we all tired, we're gonna have to buck up. Like, I really believe that is gonna be required of us in this next decade. So any way that we can link arms, any way that we can be praying for y'all, supporting y'all, that is what we want to do. That's our heart. I prayed about changing the name of the podcast, but no, like, just gotta make it is what it is. Like, we are going to make it. We're gonna do what we gotta do to make it in this crazy world, to keep God first, keep our families first, and survive financially in this crazy world, you know, because it takes a lot. And just to continue to be true to who we are in this world where it rewards people for being carbon copies of each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
We love y'all, and we'll see you in the next video.